In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to keep your toddler engaged during mealtime and really all things mealtime because every day is a new adventure. Welcome to New Mom on the Block. I'm Lindsay Legister. I'm glad you're here. Let's go. Okay, mamas, what's happening? I know. I haven't had a video in a few weeks. Life be lifin'. I was hitting my stride for a bit. I had batched a lot of content and felt really good about it. And then all of a sudden I was like, I don't have any more videos. Okay, here we go. So I just needed a moment. I was traveling in LA for almost 30. It's just stuff. And so I'm glad to be back. I actually feel re-inspired. I needed a moment. I don't know about you, if you're someone who creates content in any way, whether it's for social media or otherwise, I just sometimes need a moment. And especially as a mom, I think it is totally healthy to just give yourself that permission to not be so full on with all the things that you're full on with and just be in your life, be with your family, simplify things. So I wanted to say that in case you were just waiting for the latest episode. But I'm back and I'm here and going to be consistent for a little bit. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about toddler mealtime because honestly, it stresses me out sometimes. I slave over a dinner and my son doesn't eat it at all. Or he doesn't really eat a lot, or maybe he's had just a diet of air and berries in a day. So I want to talk about it. I want to share what's working for my son right now, our experience, and just things that I feel like we can experiment with as moms. Because let's be real, this is all quite an experimentation every single day. We got to have fun with it. So know that you're not alone. I don't know. It's I'm curious who relates. So let me know down below. Give me a little comment. Does anyone else's toddler have this on again, off again relationship with mealtime where 1 minute they're full on, they are eating more than you. They are snout in trough, just going at it. And the next day they are rejecting every food that they previously liked and really not eating a ton. This is completely normal and so annoying. But I've learned to ride the wave. It's a must. If we get too crazed about this, it could really take away the joy from just this very developmentally healthy stage. I don't want to take away the joy from my son who's exploring new foods, finding his voice and saying no and yes and all those things. So how do we keep them engaged? Because I know your toddler might be like mine, who just runs off randomly or gets distracted. And how do we keep them well-fed? Let's talk about it. What is Mav eating right now? What's he into? What's the vibe? So he is 1.5. And currently, at this very moment, because I know it could change tomorrow, he is eating an insane amount. I feel like he is always eating. It kind of worries me because I'm doesn't your digestive system need a break, brother? The doctor said this is totally normal. He might be going through a growth spurt. I'm also psyched by it because I feel like he's trying foods that he wasn't a month ago. So that excites me and that is fun for me to watch and also participate in by cooking new things. What is he loving right now? He loves a peanut butter and jelly on an egg crepe. I buy these really simple ingredient egg crepes. It's eggs, cottage cheese, oats. So it has protein in it. And then I roll it with peanut butter and jelly. Loves that for either, I usually do it as an afternoon snack. I just do a few pieces. He really, really loves meatballs. He's a meatball boy. So I try to get creative with the types of meatballs I'm offering him, whether it's turkey, chicken, beef, pork and veal. I also have a few brands of kids meatballs that I'll link below that are just so good. Ingredients are clean. They are frozen, but it's a really easy toss into a pan type of meal. And I'm totally fine giving it to him. And he really, really loves them. What else is he liking? He really loves sauerkraut. I know. It's been consistent. It's very random. He likes to drink the juice as well. As like a crunchy mom, I love that. Okay? I really love that he loves that. It's one of the few vegetables that he's down with right now. As far as vegetables, he also loves peas. I think that's a vegetable. So I'll saute some peas. He also loves potatoes. He loves sweet potatoes as long as they look like a french fry, okay? If it's just a sweet potato like wedge, absolutely not. Sometimes I will saute and or steam into something else some spinach, because spinach, it wilts very easily and kind of becomes like a much smaller size and very soft. So I sometimes will saute that and just mix it into rice, or I will mix it into like a chicken noodle soup. I'm just trying to sneak in veggies everywhere I can. I will blend in veggies to like a marinara sauce. I try to get creative and also have realistic expectations, they love fruit, they love crackers and carbs. Like, it is what it is. I try not to overload him with that stuff, but I'm also not like restricting him with that stuff, if that makes sense. As far as beverages, it's water or goat milk. I put a little bit of Celtic sea salt in his water just for like a little electrolytes, but nothing crazy. But that's it. I don't give him juice. I want to hold off on that as long as possible because the boy already loves fruit, which is great, but I'd rather not have it be like the juice form of fruit for a little bit. There's just so much sugar. I'm holding off. Daddy loves juice, so I know it's in the blood. He also loves flaky white fish. I get a gray sole and I saute it in butter with salt, pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. He loves it. It's like a very neutral light fish, so it's just those like butter flavor that I think he really likes, but it's so great. It's a form of protein. He also dabbles with salmon. He used to love it, but now it's like hit or miss. Usually depends on how I prepare it, the texture of it. Sometimes I'll mix it with a little marinara sauce, sometimes some butter, but that's another protein that I rotate in. For breakfast, it's just a tried and true every single day, basically. It's eggs, sausage, and then a little yogurt with some berries. I have not mixed this up. I should, but it's something that he loves. It's healthy. It has protein. It kind of sets him up for the day so he doesn't have like just a lot of sugar and carbohydrates in the morning, though carbohydrates are important. It's a nice balance. I make that every morning. I should just like mix up the form. I'll work on that. My approach is to expose him to as many foods as possible. Studies show that it can take 8 to 15 food exposures for them to start liking it or like just taking to it. So do not give up. I do not give up. I do not force, but I am determined to just keep exposing him to things. Oftentimes, to reduce food waste, I will make him things that I'm gonna eat anyway, that my husband's gonna eat anyway. So if he doesn't eat it, it's no big deal. Or I'll freeze it or have it for lunch tomorrow. It's all good. So I try not to get like upset about that stuff. I'm always making food that can be used in other ways for other people. But exposure is really, really important. I always remind myself it's my job to offer him a variety of foods, and it's his job to decide like what he likes and what he wants to eat, He's becoming a little person with preferences and he can make decisions. So I'm going to expose him to as much as possible. Okay, this has been a little bit challenging, but how do I keep my toddler engaged with his meal at mealtime? Some of my friends use toys. They might use a tablet. They might have the TV on. I am holding off on all of that for as long as possible. The reason being, I have seen how lit up my child's brain gets when they have a screen in front of them. I have him watch TV for probably like 30 to 45 minutes a day. Blue's Clues, Mr. Rogers, Elmo, like shows that I used to watch. Slow, gentle shows. I really don't want his eating time to be distracted. Man, oh man, their brains are just so impressionable. He learns so fast. He latches onto patterns and things so fast. Research does show that screen-free mealtime improves attention, digestion, and self-regulation. So this is really important to me to hold off on any of that for as long as possible. So what do I do? I make sure the lighting is good. Listen, I'm an aesthetics girl, so we have like nice dim lighting, no like airport lighting. while he's eating. And dim doesn't mean like he's eating in the dark. It just means it's like soothing to the eyes and just feels peaceful and calm. So I make sure the lighting's good. He has this little table right here, which he absolutely loves. He calls it his table. I have a phrase that I say every night after I make the dinner and it's ready on his plate. I say, Mavi, are you ready to go to your table? And he goes, table, and he starts walking over to the table. I help him into his seat and I place the plate in front of him and I scoot him in so he's nice and tight, not too tight, but nice and tight in the table. I put down a fork. I say, here's your fork and here's your spoon. I give him options with utensils because it's kind of fun to play with. So that's another tip. But I think setting the scene and having it be the same every single night as best you can is really important. So he has his own table, he has his own chair, the lighting's right, he has his utensils and his plate. And sometimes I will eat with him. I will either be at the big kids table next to him, or I'll sit in the chair across from him, or I will be at the counter. Energetically, we're engaged. You know, he knows I'm here. I might be busy doing like the dishes, but he knows I'm here. And actually, that tends to work the best, where I'm not like in his grill being like, come on, eat. It works well when I'm busy. He knows I'm here. He's clocking me, but I'm not like obsessing over him eating. I let him play. Okay, that's the next step. They're going to play with their food, right? They are going to smear it on the table. In my case, they're going to smear it on the window. They are going to put it in their mouth and spit it out. They're going to drop it on the floor. For me, I give like gentle boundaries around that. And I'm not like a full-on gentle parenting person, but I do think for me, it's important that mealtime is not stressful. So I'll say, Maddie, we don't throw our food on the floor. We put it in our mouth. And so I really emphasize like what he can do and what's good and positive. So it's like, we can put it in our mouth or we can leave it on our plate, right? I want to create an environment that's really not stressful or like, no, mommy, no, all no's or just reprimanding. So I really let him make a mess if that's what he's going to do. It's really important that they're able to use their hands, that they're able to taste and touch the food, feel out the textures and the temperature and like really kind of like analyze the taste, like, oh, I like that, or oh, that's sweet, or oh, that's, whatever it is. This sensory exploration really helps them feel more comfortable around food, right? So I think it's a good thing to let go of that need to control it and let them explore at this point. One fun tip around this like sensory exploration is to have them like build their own meal. So sometimes I'll have like a little tortilla or like a crepe and I'll show him like you can put the dip on and then you can sprinkle and then you can fold it. And like he doesn't know exactly what all of those words mean, but I will demonstrate and then he tries it himself and he'll bite it. And I think engaging with food in this way is really helpful in them taking pride in like eating it. It's kind of a part of their process where they make it and then they try it. And they might not like it, they might spit it out, but I really love to see him kind of go through that whole experience rather than like me making it and then me shoving it in his mouth, right? Even though it's not perfect yet and maybe won't be for a long time, I just find this to be like a really beautiful thing for him to kind of like figure out on his own. Next tip to keep them engaged is I noticed that Mav will get like kind of distracted or just like not eat his meal because I had fed him quite a few snacks, especially later in the day. As I said, Mav is eating a ton lately, but I don't know if he has actually I do know for a fact. He doesn't really know when he's full necessarily. I think he's eating so fast at times that, he doesn't really register like, let me take a moment and see how I feel. He's shoveling things in his mouth. So I'm just watching those pre-meal snacks. I'm like portioning them out a little bit more, just like a little bit smaller, because I just noticed it was filling him up. It was filling him up and he wasn't hungry for dinner. I am not against snacks. I just feel like they can become a soothing mechanism when maybe they're not totally hungry. I think we can get to know our children, right, through their cues and temperament and whatnot, and know when they're hungry and also know when it's just kind of a thing that we give them to make them stop crying or whatever. So I'm not saying that any of those things are bad, but I noticed for me, I was kind of like giving him snacks when we would take a walk because he would be fussy in the stroller. I'm like, oh, here's a snack just to keep you occupied. Not a bad thing, but I am more strategic about the portion size and when I give it to him. I do want like an hour and a half of no food before dinner. He can have water and milk and whatnot, but I want to make sure that time is, he's digesting what he had eaten before and just getting that belly ready for dinner. And we have to remember that a toddler's serving size is much less than we think. Honestly, I don't think I've gotten this concept because sometimes I'll make him a plate and I'm like, I think this is too much for him to even look at, and definitely too much for him to consume everything. So just remember that it doesn't take a lot to fill up their little tummies. And at the end of the day, my son will ask for more if he wants more. So start smaller with portion size. It's less overwhelming to them, and you can always give them more. Okay, so this tip is probably my favorite and has been so fun lately. I'll link it in the notes below, but I got some little tools for him to help me cook. I especially do this in the morning with him. It's kind of like our morning activity before we get into breakfast, but I got him like a little knife, little chopping thing. I got him a little cutting board, little things to like make cookie cutter type things. He will help me make the eggs and the sausage. So what he will do, he will bring over his tower. Okay, this is his tower. I love this one. It's been so good, so safe. I'll link it down below. So he will bring over his tower. He will get onto the tower. I'll have a cutting board out and I will have him cut the sausage. I like to cut it into bite-sized pizzas. And so he'll help me cut. Not, I'll eventually cut it for him, but he attempts to cut everything and he's getting better and better at it. It's so cool. And I'm teaching him how to like hold the knife and watch his hand. So it's really playful and he takes pride in it and he knows that it's coming and he loves making his meals. So I do it as much as I can. We'll crack the eggs. I take out a bowl. I'm like, okay, it's time to crack the eggs. He'll tap, tap, tap on the counter and then I'll put them in the bowl. We'll get to that skill soon. Again, this is just many layers of teaching. It's not only teaching like how to cook, it's also teaching them to like take pride in making their own food. For me, it's important that we are making as much of our food as possible from real ingredients rather than just getting like quick food or processed food. And I think for him and for me, it's just such a special time in the morning where we can connect and have this activity together and there's no distractions and it's very focused work. I've seen this like just give back to us in so many ways. And he also, I think, eats better when he makes his own food. It's more interesting to him. He's like connecting the dots slowly but surely. So I think that's my favorite tip. I have 2 more tips for you. Next tip is you got to change up the form. You got to change up the tools. You got to change up the format of meals. What do I mean by this? Maybe he's always using like the baby fork. Okay. What if, as long as it's safe, you give him a fork that you use? I am sure he's tried to grab it from you. Sorry, I say he. My son has tried to grab this from me many times and he's like interested in it. So I'll give him the fork. If he's gonna try to pick up the food and eat it because he has a new fork, I'm all about it. So changing up the tools that he's using, maybe, say I make him a soup. Maybe I'll give him the big ladle to like slurp out of it. I don't know, man. It's messy, it's crazy, but it works. It makes it more interesting and they engage with the food more. Sometimes I'll switch up the plate. Okay, these are my favorite plates. They're ceramic with a silicone like little cover on the edge so it's non-stick. I love these. They have like a weight to them. They're great. I'll link them down below. But I will put his meals on this generally. But sometimes I'll switch it up. I'll be like, maybe I just clean the table and I put the food on the table. And it just makes it more interesting. Kind of just like a free-for-all a little bit, but he still eats it and it's fun. Maybe I'll put it in a bowl instead. Again, get creative with this and you will watch your child just like become enthralled with the experience. And maybe the location's different. So sometimes he doesn't want to sit in his chair at the table and I'm not going to force him. I will ask him politely like, let's sit at the table. And if he refuses, I have him come sit on my lap and eat at the big people table. And he eats. I am optimizing for him eating rather than the experience being like, right, or polite or whatever. I really want him to engage with food, have fun with it, explore it, not feel stressed out by it. So I'll bring him on my lap. And sometimes he'll eat things like he would have never eaten on my lap, or he'll take things out of my hand. It's fascinating. Have fun with this. If they are refusing food, if they are spitting it out, if they are changing their mind every day, if they are really messy, all of that is so normal. Before you know it, they'll be eating at a table, kind of boring, right? Like, it's coming. So let's just have fun with this season that we're in. Kind of chaotic, kind of messy, kind of unpredictable. Okay, let's recap a little bit. What do you think? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. So, takeaways: keep distractions to a minimum. Create an environment that really supports a peaceful dinner, so dim the lights, turn off the TV. You can have music on, something like that, but nothing too crazy, right? Keep it consistent. Make sure they're comfortable where they're sitting, high chair or little table and chair. Just make sure they're comfortable. And then make meals interactive and fun. Just go for it. It's a fun way to get creative as a parent. Make them interactive and fun. Be mindful of those pre-meal snacks. They are going to fill up their little bellies. And if your belly was full and you went to a dinner, you wouldn't eat either. So let's be mindful of those. Change the form, change the format, change the tools. Just mix it up so that it kind of tricks their brain and they become re-engaged because it's new. Stay consistent. Keep it low pressure. Stay committed to exposing them to new foods. This is such a deep learning phase, both for your child and you. So just know that there's so much more happening than you realize. There's so much more synapses in the brain coming online, and it's really important. So I know it can be stressful. I know it's a lot. I know you can feel discouraged and worried. I know you could feel overwhelmed, but this is a really important part of their development. So let's create a really fun, peaceful, encouraging environment for this, because they're humans and they're going to be eating for the rest of their lives. So we want to, as best we can, create really good habits now. If this was helpful, hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. We're growing this little channel slowly but surely. You guys are the best. I would love to hear from you in the comments. I answer every single comment. Tell me where you're at with your toddler and eating. What's the vibe? Are they refusing everything? What did they like yesterday that they're hating today? I want to know all of it. And if there's any topic that you want me to discuss or any questions you want me to answer from my experience, I would love to. So please either comment below or you can DM me on Instagram at Lindsay Simsick. And I think that's it. Okay, y'all. I'll see you on the next episode of New Mom on the Block. Bye.